Hello everybody, okie dokie, I'm doing some England nails. Woo, come on England. I don't even like football, but I cried when I watched the match the other night. So I thought, yes, I'm going to watch it Saturday. I'm going to wear some beautiful nails. We're using colour blocking to do the St George's flag on this nail. But first what I've done is filed down my old design. I've pushed my cuticles back. I've etched the nail plate, removed any non-living tissue. I've dehydrated. I've primed, and now I'm just placing down a clear layer. Now it was very hard. The acrylic I used was super pigmented last time, so there is still a little bit of colour there. And as I'm using white, it has been a bit tricky to cover, but it's okay. Yes, application is not ideal on this video. It is sloppy. I forgot to put my monomer in the fridge and it was very hot, so I ended up working extremely wet and a bit messy. So I do apologise, and I apologise if I keep sniffing as well. I've got a bit of hay fever. Okay, this is the Ruby Holo multi-cut glitter from the Glitter Fairy. I've been waiting to use this since Christmas when I was sick of the sight of it, but I just, it's so beautiful. So with this nail, because I'm doing first the colour block line down the middle first. On the other hand, I tried to do it all at once, left-handed. It didn't turn out well. So, change my method, do the colour block straight line first, just picking up a wet bead and then nudging it into place. You really need to be able to have a view down on top of your nail so you can see that those lines are even. And you don't need to, if you're not confident, you don't need to work with huge, big blobs. You can just take it nice and slow. The acrylic's setting super fast anyway, so. Once I'm happy with that, I'm going to literally give it a couple of minutes to set because it was setting so fast, and then cap it. Now, I'm using a firm bead. It's not super dry, it's not wet, it's firm so that it can be placed where I like it. I'm using Glitterbels glass slippers. And as you can see, I'm tucking it in at the side, tucking it right in to create that wall, and then tucking it either side, dragging it down the top, tucking it either side, dragging it down the top. And I'm doing that so that when you file, you've got a wall to butt your file up against and to create that clear line when you do the addition of the next colour. And you need to take into account here as well the height that you want your apex, the thickness that you want your nail. Although if it was too thin, you could cap at the end. So it's not a huge problem if you don't take that into account and if you make it too thin, but because of the amount of filing, I would suggest it's easier to have it a bit bigger. So I'm going in with Trilogy White, and I am working incredibly wet. And as we know, whites in general are sticky. Trilogy is the least sticky. However, I made it so wet that it became sticky. So I'm sorry that it appears like a 5-year-old is currently using the brush to do nails, but it was very, very hot. And as you can see, I did make a boo-boo there. So what I'm doing is going in, cleaning up, don't worry about it. Clean it up, don't worry about it. It's very tricky doing your own nails, we all know this, and keeping it in shot is even harder. Oh dear, sorry. I've really got a tickly nose. So I'm just placing a wet bead with the Ruby multi-cut Holo and literally feathering it back. And then I'll use my damp brush, tap it into the raw glitter and just pat that in to make it more of a solid glitter nail at the free edge. So this is going to be a linear nail, so we're not going to do the St George's flag on this one, we're just going to go with the line down the middle. So I'm just laying it out gently where I want it, and then I'll start patting it into place. Again, just adding any raw glitter if there's parts that I feel are not covered enough. Tapping those edges very gently, no stress, just nice and relaxed. And I think that's the key when you're doing something like this, is to just not worry. and then tucking that bead at the back and tucking it either side. You need to work wet enough for the clear to really get in those glitters and encapsulate nicely, but you don't want to work so wet that you're chasing it around the nail, because you need that definitive side line, that wall. And then when you're happy with that, you just leave that to dry and we'll move on to the next nail. This is another glitter fade, but we're going to fade from the cuticle down, so I'm placing my bead a bit further away from the cuticle. Then I can just add a thinner bead further up so we don't bulk out that cuticle area too much. Even working wet, it was setting super fast. Again, if application is a bit sloppy, I apologise. Okay, so then I'm going to clean my brush, because as you can see it's full of white, and I'm going to tap in some of that ruby Holo multi-cut. Just tap it in, and then as the acrylic starts to dry, I'm going to add a wet bead and feather that down. So we're literally reversing the glitter fades, just to change it up. I don't like having all nails the same, so I like to change it up a bit. And then this is going to be a full glitter nail. So just going in with a wet bead of clear into the ruby Holo multi-cut, nudging it up to the cuticle, tucking it in around the side walls, and then feathering it down. And then I'll go in with raw glitter if the nail's wet and just tap it in, because you don't want to add any bulk if you don't need to. So as long as that nail is wet, you can tap in the raw glitter and it will work just fine. Now, I believe my camera kept cutting out, so some of the capping wasn't filmed, some of the design wasn't filmed, so I'll try and fill in the gaps. But basically, before I filed in the linear ones, no, it's okay, just ignore me. It's only 6:30 in the morning, so. Okay, so I filed in the initial line down the middle, and I've got that nice and crisp. Now this one's going to be trickier, so you need to do the majority of the work with your brush, and I went slow and steady and just kept those the walls of the colour block as neat as possible, and also the corners where it meets the first line, you need to keep those corners defined, because it's really easy for the acrylic to sort of splurge and you lose the definition of the corners, and then just looks messy, which is what happened when I did it with my left hand, because obviously my manual dexterity is not as good with my left hand. So and keep changing your view so that you can really see if it's looking the way you want it to look in the end. Doesn't matter if it's too thick, because you can file it down, but shape and where the placement wise, look at it and imagine how it's going to look at the end. And then again, just as it's setting, before I get ready to cap it, I go in and check those lines again and just make sure they are as tight as I want them. The corners are sharp. So I filed in this linear nail, I'm waiting for the other one to dry. And I'm going to add a drier bead of white. So I bled the bead a little bit. But then it did start setting super quick, which is just the heat. We're not used to working in 30 degree, 31 degree heat. And yeah, I know Liz said put your monomer in the fridge. I just forgot. In fact, I need to do that today, because I've got some prom nails to do for Chloe today, so I'll record those. This is where the camera cut out, I'm pretty sure, but I literally just did this both sides. Yes, okay, so this is just dry now, and I've tried to file in the sides, and basically I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to use a drier bead, and I'm going to put 4 beads in the 4 gaps, and I'm going to go over the lines, and it will look hideous because you've got a lot of product on that nail and you're trying to make sure there's no gaps, so you're almost adding more product on top of more product. as long as you've got an e-file, it's no big deal. I wouldn't want to hand file this. I think that would be torture because I did work quite large. But as long as you've got an e-file, then it's amazing when you watch that design coming through. So I will be filming Chloe's prom nails for you today, as mentioned. Now, the prom trial, you're quite lucky actually because you've got two designs. The prom trial nails, we've changed the design because she saw me watching Sonia Williams do some nails the other day and she said, "I want those, Mum, but can you make them just like hers?" And I just said, "You're reaching a bit there, love, because Sonia Williams is like nail goddess, so probably not." But I'll do my best. I don't know if you follow Sonia Williams. You're mad if you don't, but if you don't, if you haven't seen her yet, I will put a link to that video because it's beautiful. Come on, puppy dog. He's not a puppy. He's 6, but he looks like a puppy, so I still call him my little puppy. So yeah, just doing the same here, filling in that last gap. And the acrylic was drying super fast, so it did get quite messy and uneven, but nothing that a good file can't fix. And look, there we are, filed in. I always file off camera. If you want me to try and file on camera, just ask and I will. I just need to get a camera arm to film with. So I've got some crystals here. They're all Swarovskis. Some are from the Glitter Fairy, some are from Crystal Parade, and the tool I'm using is from Crystal Parade as well. The glue I'm using is NSI Polybond. I love it. I've always used it. I've tried other things, but I always go back to it. So, and it's a medical grade glue as well. So when I snag myself with my file, which I always do because I don't pay attention when I'm filing my own nails, I just whack a bit of the glue on it. I think I'm using SS9 and SS5. I don't know what size the little ones are. Because I bought them mixed, so it's hard to know. But I need to get a bunch more. And I'm also going to do a little bit of crystal work on the linear nail. I do struggle, I don't know if anyone else does, with the cuticle area of a linear nail, just keeping it as neat as I want it. But us nail techs know that it's nothing a couple of crystals won't fix. And the glitter fades, I mean, they're just so beautiful. Such a simple technique, but so effective. Even the glue was drying fast. It was crazy. Like I went to move it and it was stuck. I was like, oh, okay. It's gonna be like that, is it? So I did start top coating on camera and then my phone ran out of storage space. It happened 2 or 3 times in this video. I need a camera, but I need to save for a camera. So I think I'm gonna start the Sarah camera fund. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it's been helpful. I know it wasn't perfect, but I still wanted to share. If there's anything you want to see in the future, Laurie, I am working on gel linear nails, and I did do one the other day and it was okay, but I think I can perfect it before I show you. Yeah, I'll see you in my next video, I guess. Bye!